It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
Here we are. Here we are again. Here we are again. Where's Tawny Katane to dance across the radio as we say that? Oh, no,
we can't have her, but we do have Kate Smith dancing atop a Model T, Brad. Wait a minute, she just caved in the hood. Never mind, they're going to retake that.
Okay, here we go. Ted Cruz. Sometimes Ted gets a little bit over the top, okay? But this was the story that came out yesterday, okay? Here's the title. And matter of fact, this was in our trade publication. This was not in Fox News. This is in Inside Radio, okay? Senator Ted Cruz puts NPR in hot seat over taxpayer funding, perceived political bias. Perceived political bias? Have you ever listened to NPR?
Perceived, yeah, perceived political bias.
Perceived political bias. Okay. First paragraph. Senator Ted Cruz is keeping the pressure on NPR to explain its funding and its editorial decision-making. It is part of the fallout from the resignation of NPR editor Yuri Berliner. Let me try that again. Is he Yuri or Uri? Which one do we decide?
I think it's Uri.
Okay. This spring, following his public accusations, the public media network engages in bias reporting. In April, Cruz sought answers about whether the Corporation for Public Broadcasting has done anything to address the allegations. Now he's targeting NPR directly. Okay. I guarantee you, this is Brad. I'm going to put on my soothsayer hat, okay, where I can look into the future. And I'm going to look into the future, and I'm going to say that if you tune into NPR in the 8 o'clock hour, or the 9 o'clock hour, or the 10 o'clock hour, or the 11 o'clock hour, or the 12 o'clock hour, even the noon hour, where they have that exciting host again. What's her name again?
Elaine Cha.
She's got so much energy. Sometimes I think to myself, man, she should be working at Z1077. Anyway, you will hear the new story about, oh my God, the vice president has just become the most important person in the world, and she's such an eloquent speaker, and she's saying things that only college professors would say, and she's bringing the Americans together behind her, and it's going to be a cakewalk for her to become the president. Have you heard all the news, all the people gushing over Kamala Harris? I mean, it's to the point where it's
it's incredible.
It's like, come on.
But that was telegraphed. Once you saw the media begin to turn on Biden ever so slowly, and then all of a sudden it was, who's going to save us? Brad, we talked about this beginning on Monday. It was like, she's going to unite the party. She's the one. Can she do it? No one said she could do it, but she did it, Brad.
And once again, I will say this, that if NPR was a publicly or privately funded organization, if Rick and Tracy were billionaires and they decided, hey, let's start NPR, and it turned into all rah-rah Republican radio and rah-rah conservative radio, I'd say, you know what, knock yourself out. That's your money. You can do whatever the hell you want with your money. I don't really care. But it's our taxpayer money. And I get pushback from this all the time, that I've had people say, well, you don't understand. You're making fun of KWMU. They're listener funded. BS, they're listener funded. Do they make money off of listeners? Yes. The schlubs that send them a check, they do make money off of that.
Yeah.
But once again, the studios are owned by the University of Missouri. The transmitter's owned by the University of Missouri. The license is owned by the University of Missouri. Guess what? The University of Missouri is government entity, correct? Isn't that part of
That's true. They are taxpayer funded.
Right, taxpayer funded. And once again, the way this, and the crazy thing is, the NPR people would come out and say, well, we only get a small percentage of our money from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. But what people don't understand is that when KWMU is running those shows, whatever the shows are, the local affiliates, in this case KWMU, has to pay NPR for that programming, and guess what? There is a fund that the local stations get from the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which goes to buy the programming from NPR. So
yeah, it's a pretty beautiful circle, isn't it? It's like the circle of life.
it's like if it were the mafia, it would be the world's best money laundering scheme. We don't NPR. We don't get any public money. We get money from our affiliates, who get money from the government. Which is
and the good thing is when I finally, because I don't answer the phone very often, but I saw that it was a local call that it looked like it was coming from like the St. Louis post office area. I thought it might have been something important, and they were soliciting. KWMU was soliciting donations, and I was able to do. You know how I'm pretty good with conference calls, Brad. I conferenced them into 25 God Squad, and so I said instead of asking me for money, just pray that you will come into money. And that, Brad knows about coming into money because he lost his virginity to that Jewish girl in Spanish Lake. That's a different version of coming into money. But here's the thing, Brad. Sometimes you just conference the KWMU people in with 25 God Squad.
You didn't do that, did you really?
I did. I think we should send it to her. Find her on Facebook and send it to her. I'm not a Facebook guy, but go ahead, Brad. Just label it coming into money.
John is making fun of the fact that Tuesday morning I came out of the closet, so to speak, and
Brad
gave a little bit of inside baseball stuff and talked about the fact that, and the interesting thing about this is this has been something for over 10 years. I have actually been originally, I guess my official title is Reverend, but nobody uses that anymore. Everybody's a pastor. If you go into all the hip new church, if you go to one of the places out in St. Charles County,
yeah.
like Grace River and all the hip places, it's always the pastor. Matter of fact, the bigger churches, they have levels of pastorship. Is that a word, pastorship? They have
yeah, I think so.
They have levels of pastor, and the head pastor is called the global pastor. Have you ever heard this before?
I didn't know that. I know the head pastor gets to wear the tightest jeans, Brad.
Yes.
During a church service. Church service wearing jeans.
Right.
Go ahead.
And the flannel shirt and the
hipster haircut.
Right, the hipster haircut. And what's the kind of shoes that are back in style again, which everybody made fun of, and the sandals. What do you call those? The
like the Crocs?
No, not the Crocs. The one's been around for a long time. The
espadrilles, the moccasins.
No. What's the sandals? I can't remember right now. It's the
Birkenstocks.
Birkenstocks.
Yeah.
That's the tip. See what's interesting about this, and it sounds like I'm making fun, but I'm actually, once again, it's to the point where if you go down to here, I'll give you a perfect example. There's a bar in Clayton, which quite honestly, I like to go eat because they have great hamburgers. It's called CJ Muggs, okay? CJ Muggs is notorious as being the bar that all the attorneys hang out at. Once upon a time, back in the day, long before they tore down the radio station, the original KSOQ, and took over their block for the county jail, on one side of the block was my building, 111 South Beamiston, where KSOQ was. On the other side of the block, there was a gas station, believe it or not, in Clayton, and right next to it, there was an old building that had a restaurant on the first floor called CJ Muggs. And it was right across the street from the courthouse. You could walk across the street from the courthouse, walk the crosswalk right there in downtown Clayton, and you would walk into CJ Muggs. Well, they moved a block down the street. They're in the corner of Central and Bonham right now, and it's the go-to place for attorneys. Okay. And if you go into there Monday through Friday after like 5 o'clock, it's all the suits. And when I say suits, I mean both men and women. The women are all very nicely attired in their 3 and 4 and 5 inch stiletto heels, and the dudes are all in their crisp white laundered shirts and their power ties and the whole bit. Okay, so it's like a uniform. Okay, so here's where I'm leading up to. There was a time in the O'Fallon Chamber of Commerce when, I don't know what happened. We don't do that as much anymore. We had a bunch of our membership meetings, they call the GMM, the general membership meetings, the luncheons, once a month. And we were at various churches around the St. Louis area, or St. Charles County area. And most of the churches were of the new, what would you call it? The new style church?
I don't want to say new age, but I would call it contemporary.
Right. And
contemporary Christian. Yeah.
Right, contemporary Christian. Okay. And one of the points was they would always have the global lead pastor come up on stage and, hey, and here's Pastor Jim, whoever was running the show for the Chamber of Commerce. Here's Pastor Jim, and he's going to come up and say a few words. And this guy would bounce up on stage, and he would always be in jeans with holes in them, flannel shirt, a lot of times long hair, and Birkenstocks. Hey, just want to welcome you to our humble abode where we touch Jesus on a daily basis, and you can come and touch Jesus on a daily basis on Sunday, and make sure and bring your wallet and your checkbook, because we're trying to build a new mega church, and we only need $42 million to build our new church down the street. And that's just for our entertainment center, our actual sanctuary. We need $92 million for that. And I'm going, oh, God.
Yeah, I remember real quick, Brad. I remember it had to be 20, maybe 25 years ago. I saw a piece in the Post-Dispatch about one of these type churches and how, they would gather, and there was even like a Bible study group that would gather at a bar. They'd get a back room at a bar and they'd drink beer and they'd do their Bible study. And I remember thinking, is this what like a non-denominational Christian church is now like? Like, what is... Like, this can't be a real thing, can it? And then, Brad, fast forward to today, and just like you said, I mean, every pastor, they have, a knockoff version of Nickelback as the house band playing. They got a hipster in jeans. And I love the idea that we should be able to take the word to the proletariat, and I shouldn't say proletariat, but to people who otherwise might feel that church is a little bit stiff or whatever. But, I mean, come on. Like, you can't put a pair of Dockers on. You can't put an old pair of Comfort Flex khakis on instead of a pair of jeans to go to church.
Well, and now the new thing is everybody has to have a video wall behind them. You have to have the big monster video wall. Matter of fact, there's this guy on YouTube that has this channel. I think his name's Taylor Chance or something like that. And he knows too much about this, because he does spoof videos where he plays one of his roles, he's the church consultant, and he goes into various churches and just rips them apart. Matter of fact, if I can find the video, I'll play the audio because it's pretty funny.
So it's kind of like a bar rescue, but for churches.
Well, that's exactly what this. But see, the crazy thing about it is that you think I'm kidding. Yeah, hold on a minute. Here. Let's have some fun, okay?
Let's do it.
I haven't called anybody in a while, okay? Okay, hold on a minute. I'm going to make a phone call. And okay, hold on. Here. Okay, because I can't remember the name of this. Okay, let's see if she'll answer. Okay, because she's going to get mad at me too. She's going to get, if she does answer, when I tell her what I'm after. Oh, she's not going to answer. We'll have to continue this discussion tomorrow. Come on, answer the phone. I know you're awake. No, she's not going to answer. Okay, there is a group called, I believe it's called, I don't want to say the name because I don't think I have it right, but there's an organization that essentially what they do is, this is their term, they plant churches. And
oh, that's nice. They're like the Johnny Appleseed of Christianity.
Right. And they do all these. Well, I'm going to get myself in trouble if I go any further. Okay, the point I was saying was, I've started my own church, and it's called God Squad. And it's not your typical church because God Squad is in the cloud. At least right now it's in the cloud. At some point in time, we want to have a physical presence. I want to have that $42 billion worship center. But for the time being, it's in the cloud, and you can go to godsquad.cloud. Now, there's been some miscommunication because I've actually had a couple people say to me, hey, I listen to your radio station. You're not playing that Christian music. I go, no, it's not on the radio right now. That's the point. I'm trying to raise enough money to buy another radio station where we can actually run God Squad on the air. If you go on to godsquad.cloud, you go down the front page, and there's a spot where you can click on the live stream, and you can hear God Squad music, and we're playing it. And I am Pastor Brad, and people don't believe this, and one particular person that both you and I know actually called the prayer line, actually dropped the F-bomb on me on the prayer line, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, but that's in character for her. Go ahead.
Okay, so you can call the prayer line, and I will pray for you. And so far, since I've done this on Tuesday, I prayed for probably half a dozen people. And you can call 25 God Squad, 25, and people go, 25 God Squad? Just dial it, 25 GODSQUAD. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but if you just dial that, you'll get the God Squad prayer line. I'll come on and I'll greet you, and then you just leave you leave the name of the person you want me to pray for and why I should pray for them, and I'll pray for them because I am Pastor Brad.
And the great thing about it for people who don't think that you can actually leave a message there that the line is functional, Brad, I called it, I guess it would have been 2 days ago. And I got the message, and I asked for a prayer, and I asked for you to take on more projects, and I asked for you to take on more websites, buy more domains, and immediately the phone line transferred me to westplex.news, which gave me a greeting, and then sent me immediately to snarfitup.com, which also gave me a greeting, and a fantastic coupon to the Hawthorne Inn. And then it directed me to westplex.social, where I was able to create a profile. And all these websites, they gave me a disclaimer. They said, Brad's going to lose interest in 10 days, so get it while it's hot. And then they redirected me back to 25 God Squad and said, we will last longer than 2 weeks because Brad is serious about this one. And then Westplex and KSLQ called and said, why are we being abandoned? Why is Brad not paying attention to us? And then snarfitup.com got back on the line and said, Hawthorne Inn coupon. And then I got redirected to Holler for $1 and Rent Me for a Day. And then I just got confused and hung up, Brad. In the time that Brad has been silent, which was 3 seconds, he just registered 4 domain names and then redirected us to Bradcam, which lasted for 6 days. So, Brad, please add more projects. The radio station should not be your top priority. I want you to start a church, a mosque, and a synagogue, okay? Call your old Jewish girlfriend, tell her you're now a Zionist, and you're going to start your 803rd project of 2024.
Once upon a time, I had this great client who turned into a good personal friend. And matter of fact, I will tell you something that I don't ever think I've said on the air, that he passed away much too early. Name was Randy Bluestone, guy that owned the Country Club Car Wash, and was Jewish. And, if you know the Jewish religion, you get buried within 24 hours, and they have, I guess, like a celebration of life. And I went to a synagogue out there at 40 and 141, can't remember the name of it. And before the services started, there was a line to wish his widow, Barb, well. And I stood in that line, and I went up and I shook Barb's hand, and she looked at me in the face, and she said, Randy loved you so much. He loved to give you S. And word for word, that's exactly what she said to me. And it was the nicest thing anybody has ever said to me at a funeral. And to this day, I appreciate the fact that when people have a good friendship, like what John and I used to have.
Oh, Brad.
The more S you give someone, the more friendship you have. It's sort of like if you know an old married couple that's been married for 50 years and they're in the kitchen and they're going back and forth at each other. Well, if you knew how to cook. And yet those two love each other more than you can ever imagine.
It's just like listening to two people who've had a radio show together since November 20th of 2023, Brad. Brad, this is such a great week for you. And it started off with a bang on Monday. And that's why we can have a little fun with you, right, Brad?
Yeah.
And that's why I can encourage you to start 37 more websites, Brad.
And Monday I got insulted by an attorney who didn't like the way I walk. So...
Well, they were a gait specialist, G-A-I-T.
Yes.
They were a gait specialist.
Okay,
right?
We're way over again. Say goodbye, John.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?